Happy Saturday, Heat fans. Welcome to the Heat Report by Chat Sports. I am Nic Rohloff, and we have another Jimmy Butler update on today's show because it seems like a trade may be coming sooner rather than later. I mean, there's a lot of conflicting reports out there. A lot of people are speculating this could be taken into the offseason due to no team really stepping up and making a fair trade offer to Miami for Jimmy Butler. But then Ethan J. Skolnick of 5 Reasons Sports Network said some believe it could happen in the next couple of days. And Charania also reporting that a trade could come together sooner rather than later. But this is why you subscribe. This is why you have your notifications turned on, because we will have you covered if a Jimmy Butler trade goes down. We'll be going live. Obviously, when Jimmy Butler gets traded, we'll react to the package. If it happens before the deadline, if it inevitably happens in the offseason, no matter when it happens, make sure you subscribe, notifications turned on, because we will cover it. We'll start with Charania's report because he tweeted this out late last night as he was on SportsCenter talking about the Jimmy Butler saga. He said that after the suspension, the Heat put out that little statement saying they suspended Jimmy, but they also released a secondary statement saying that they are open to now obviously trading Jimmy, because they put out a statement last week that they weren't going to trade Jimmy, and then they come back and refute that, obviously with everything that's changed over the past week and a half. And when Sham says that the Heat are open and fielding offers, he also reported that a trade could come together relatively soon, and he expects a resolution maybe in the next couple of weeks. And then, like I mentioned off the top, 5 Reasons Sports Network, who them and Barry Jackson, in my opinion, are the two most reputable local media reporters and insiders at the Miami media type of thing. And when he says that other people around the league expect a trade or believe one could happen in the next 2 to 4 days, I'm going to start to get my ears perked up and say we might have an end in sight. Now, things change very rapidly in the NBA, so there's a chance that this ultimately changes and this drags on closer to the February 6th trade deadline. But there's also a chance they are reporting correctly and a trade could come together really, really soon. But the question I have is, if it does happen soon, are the Heat going to get a fair offer back, and who is going to give them a fair offer? I have said multiple times on social media and on the channel that I believe the Golden State Warriors are the most likely destination for Jimmy Butler. But then there's a report this morning from Anthony Slater, who is a very credible reporter that covers the Golden State Warriors, saying that the Warriors will not pursue Jimmy Butler. So if they aren't pursuing Jimmy Butler, and if we take that report from Anthony Slater at its max value, then who is stepping up for Jimmy Butler? The only confirmed team that we know that has interest in Jimmy is the Phoenix Suns, and that is just not going to happen. There are multiple reports out there, and if you just use your common sense, there is no chance it's a 1-for-1 trade with the Suns and Miami, because the Heat don't want Bradley Beal, and unless the Suns are trading Devin Booker or Kevin Durant back to Miami, that trade simply just isn't going to happen. The Heat bypassed trading for Bradley Beal 2 off seasons ago because they didn't like his contract and the no-trade clause. Why do you think they would make a trade now getting Bradley Beal into the 305? It just simply is not going to happen. Before we continue more and speculate on which teams can pursue Jimmy Butler before the deadline, let me know if you think a Jimmy Butler trade is going to happen this week. This week, by the time next weekend rolls around, will Jimmy Butler be traded? Type Y for yes or type N for no. All right, as we continue the conversation here on Jimmy Butler, another team that is a sneaky one to watch, the Sacramento Kings. And I know a lot of people on here, because I made a video about it, would want a trade with the Sacramento Kings to happen because it's a 3-team deal, which ultimately nets De'Aaron Fox in Miami. Well, what if there's a different trade that could actually go down with the Sacramento Kings? They are struggling. Yes, they've won 3 in a row, but maybe they, in hopes of keeping De'Aaron Fox in Sacramento long term, believe that Jimmy Butler could actually fix the problems happening in Sacramento. And there was a trade thrown out there that could work perfectly, I think, for both sides. Because remember, what is one of the top things the Heat want to do in any Jimmy Butler trade? Remain competitive. That is one of their top goals. They do not want to tank. They do not want to lose assets because they believe they could compete in the Eastern Conference. Better for worse, I don't think they could win in the Eastern Conference unless they acquired someone really, really good. But either way, that's neither here nor there. But how about this potential trade? And Brett Siegel, who covers the NBA, actually threw this out there that would get this working financially. What if Miami acquired DeMar DeRozan, Kevin Huerter, Trey Lyles, and an NBA draft pick for Jimmy Butler and Alec Burks? That trade works out financially. Miami stays competitive, getting a DeMar DeRozan in Miami. They also get a future draft pick as well. Siegel has it as a first. Would Sacramento send all of that and a first for Jimmy Butler? I'm not sure. But if that trade gets it done, would the Heat want to do that? We'll talk more about that in just a second, but we are sponsored by Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports platform out there. And Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up 1,000 times. Yes, 1,000 times your cash. And with basketball season heating up, Prize Picks is the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. Prize Picks now offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season as well. Keep an eye on fun promotions that happen every single week, like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. You can pick players like Steph Curry, Giannis, Bam, Tyler Hero. You can play any way you want, and you can combine different sports like football, basketball, hockey. You can go around the world and do as many professional and collegiate sports as you want. I've shown you guys a bunch of football ones and basketball ones that I've done in the past. I play Prize Picks on a daily basis. So download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. One more time, download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, let's get back to talking about Jimmy Butler and honestly that Sacramento Kings potential trade, because we know, and if you were subscribed to the channel in the offseason, we covered it, the Heat had interest in bringing in DeMar DeRozan to this locker room during the offseason. Now, that was hopefully keeping Hero, Bam, Jimmy, and DeRozan as that kind of core 4, but it ultimately could not work because it would have had to be a interesting sign-in trade, and the Heat didn't want to pay him $20+ million because, well, they really couldn't unless they shredded a bunch of salary, and it just ended up not working out. It is what it is. But DeRozan is someone who would slide into Jimmy Butler's role on this Heat roster in the wing, the front court position. Is he as good as a defender? No, but DeMar DeRozan is a better offensive player than Jimmy Butler, and I want to preface this, in the regular season. In the postseason, I still think Jimmy Butler, when he's locked in, is as good as anyone out there. And there might not be anyone better than Jimmy Butler in terms of rising in the postseason. We've just continued to see it time after time and time. When he's healthy, he is dominant in the playoffs. DeMar DeRozan is not that. But the Heat would be a better regular season team with the combination of DeRozan, Huerter, and Lyles on the squad, rather than Jimmy Butler and Alec Burks. Burks doesn't get that much PT right now in general. Jimmy Butler has been in and out of the lineup all year. Plus, he doesn't give max effort offensively when he is on the court. DeRozan would give you more scoring right away in that wing position in the regular season. You also would add Kevin Huerter, who is a solid, not great, but solid 3-and-D 2 guard that honestly is on the same tier of a player as Duncan Robinson. Duncan Robinson's a way better shooter, but Huerter provides more defensively. And then if you did add Trey Lyles into your front court, that is a pretty valuable, athletic, versatile 4 there. He can shoot the 3. He's not going to wow you with his defensive ability, but he's certainly not going to be a net negative on the court. Like, that is a package to me that I would probably do, because you do get a first-round pick in that mock trade that Siegel had. You get an adequate offensive wing to add to your front court in DeMar DeRozan. You get backcourt depth in Kevin Huerter, and you get front court depth as well in Trey Lyles. I think that would be something I would be very intrigued on. We'll see if the Heat and Kings talk. Fascinating development as well. The Heat and Kings play on Monday night. They also play in Golden State on Tuesday night. So they play back-to-back games on Monday and Tuesday with two teams that could seriously be linked to Jimmy Butler. So it would probably be smart for the Heat's president, Pat Riley, to make the West Coast trip and maybe have a sit-down face-to-face with the representatives in the front office of Golden State and Sacramento, which is why maybe some people think a trade could happen over the next 2 to 4 days, is because, well, the Heat go to those two teams over the next 4 or 5 days, and maybe they have a conversation in person and strike a deal. But like I said, we'll have you covered. It'll be fascinating to see what ultimately happens here. It feels like there's not a lot of teams out there that will pursue Jimmy Butler hardcore, especially if the Golden State Warriors are out. If the Warriors are not out, it makes it more intriguing. But I will be honest, I think that there's a serious possibility that even though we talked about a trade happening soon in the first portion of this video, that this ultimately gets dragged out to the offseason. I got to be honest. And I also do think that I'm guilty of it. You guys are guilty of it. I don't know if the Heat's return for Jimmy Butler is going to be good. I just going to be simply put out there. He's 35. We know the off-court drama and on-court drama that comes with Jimmy Butler if he does not like a situation, and a team knows that they're going to have to pay him a 2-year Supermax extension if they trade him, or this is just going to happen again in the offseason for whatever team deals for him. I'll be honest, we speculate about multiple draft picks, a decent young player. I get more and more feelings that this trade return for Jimmy Butler is going to be underwhelming, and Heat fans aren't going to be happy with what they got in return. But with how messy the situation has gotten, we made our own bed. You can say that. And Pat Riley making this pissing match between him and Jimmy Butler certainly has not helped. And it's just might not be a happy ending on the court with Jimmy and Pat Riley, but also in the trade department as well. But if a trade does go down, like I said, we'll have you covered, so make sure you're subscribed. I am going to actually go live for tonight's game against the Jazz. I felt like there's no way I could not go live for that game, considering all the drama. We have to see how things play out and see how the team performs together after the last 48 hours. So we'll be live tonight. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you join us for that and daily coverage on the Miami Heat.